everybody, my name is Mars. You can call me May or MG if you would like, and today I have for you my May wrap-up and June TBR. So I'm very excited for June. I'm participating in Camp Seasonathon, so stay tuned for a TBR video for that. And there's just also a bunch of books that I'm really excited to be reading. I'm also a little bit apprehensive for June because I've got a lot going on. I've got several family events. I'm also moving in June, and hopefully I'll be finding a new job in this new place, so I'm not sure how much time I'll have for reading, but I'm just gonna set my ambitions high and hope for the best. But before we get to my June TBR, let's talk about all the books that I read in May. So I would like to preface this by saying there is one book that I had put for one of my May prompts that I didn't end up reading, and that book is The Lost Queen by Sina Pike. I just didn't really feel interested in it, so I read a bunch of other books that fit the prompt instead. The prompt was a book published between 2010 and 2019, and honestly that's most of the books that I read this month, so I'm still counting the prompt as covered. So the first book that I picked up in May was Eric's Ransom by John Flanagan. This is the 7th book in the Ranger's Apprentice series, but chronologically it takes place after book 4, which is why I read it. And I gave this a 6 out of 10. It's honestly my least favorite book in the series. It just has a bunch of stuff that I don't really like in it. I'm not really a huge fan of desert fantasy, for starters, and I also just don't enjoy a lot of the things that these characters went through in this book. I do like the first beginning section and also the ending of the book, but pretty much the entire middle 80% is just not stuff that I really like. I mean, I did enjoy the writing style and everything because it is Ranger's Apprentice, my favorite series, but it just goes to show that you can absolutely love a series and not have to love every single book in it. So, yeah, it was fine. Then I picked up Graceling by Kristen Cashore, and I gave this a 9 out of 10. This is probably the 3rd or 4th time I've read this, and I picked it up because it is the Nostalgia Train book club pick for May, and I'm very excited to talk about that at the live stream at the end of the month. I just really, really love this book. It's amazing. The magic system is really interesting, and I love most of the characters. There's a couple of them where I don't like them, but they're like the characters you're supposed to not like, so it's fine. And I just forgot how much I enjoyed reading this book, and I'm very excited to reread the rest of the series. After that, I picked up Before She Ignites by Jodi Meadows, and I gave this a 7 out of 10. I was pleasantly surprised by this. This is a YA fantasy with dragons, and although there weren't as many dragons as I expected, I'm expecting there to be way more as the series goes on, I really did like the main character. I feel like she was very autistic coded, which I was not expecting at all, but I'm very glad for that. I thought it was very well done, whether intentional or not, and I do want to read the rest of the series. Then I tried to read Star-Crossed by Josephine Angelini, which is one of the picks for the Tome Travelers book club, and I ended up DNFing this at 63%. I really tried. I wanted to read this book. I know that Anne-Sophie, one of my close friends, really loves it, but it just was not my style at all. I feel like YA has been very hit or miss for me lately. I either absolutely love it or absolutely hate it, and this just did not have any of the things that I enjoy in YA books. I also felt like the mythology in it, because it was supposed to be based on Greek mythology, just wasn't well done, and I'm upset that I couldn't finish it, but I was just slogging through it and taking up all my time, and I'm like, I don't want to do this to myself, so I put it down. As a little pick-me-up after DNFing a book, I read Hell's Paradise by Yuji Kaku. I don't know why I can never remember the mangaka's name, but this is my favorite manga series of all time. I read all 13 volumes and 10 out of 10 across the board. I love the series so much. If you want to see my full review of it, I did make a video, so I will be sure to link that for you guys. So I'm not going to go into detail here, but just know that I adore this series so much. Then I read the chunker that is Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon, and I gave this an 8 out of 10. I really loved the first part of it. It took me a couple chapters to get into it, but once I was into it, I was enjoying it so much. And then the last bit, the third act, was some of the best I've ever read in any story. The middle part was good, but I do feel like there were a couple of chapters where it was dragging, which is why this wasn't a full, like, 10 out of 10. But still, I really, really, really enjoyed this book, and I do want to pick up Day of Fallen Night, which is the prequel book. I did vlog my experience reading this. It was my members only vlog. If you didn't know, I have memberships on Ko-fi, and one of the perks is that my members get to vote on one book from my TBR each month for me to vlog and completely review for their eyes only. So their pick was Priory. If that's something that you want to watch, check out my memberships and maybe you'll want to sign up. Then I picked up Permanent Record by Mary H.K. Choi, and I ended up DNFing this one after only one chapter. I think it was like 15 pages in. It just is not anything that I'm looking for right now. I was so excited when I first bought this book, and then I just let it sit on my shelf, and that's my fault. But it's YA contemporary romance, and that's just not a genre that I pick up. After that, I read Armstrong Station by D.M. Pruden, and this is just a book that I had saved to my phone. I think it was like free from Google Books, and that's why I downloaded it. And I only read it this month because it covers my Somber Honey Reading Challenge prompt for May, which is a book with the author's same initials as you. So DM is my birth name initials, so it fits. And I gave this a 5 out of 10. It wasn't bad, it just wasn't anything special. I thought it was fine. I'm not going to continue on with the series. And then I read Seafire by Natalie C. Parker. I'm actually in the middle of binging this entire trilogy and vlogging it, so stay tuned for that. So I read this one and I really, really enjoyed it. I actually liked it more this time around than I did the first time I read it a couple of years ago. I'm currently reading Steel Tide, which is book 2. I have about 150 pages left, and I'm planning on finishing it today, and then I can pick up book 3, which is Stormbreak, and I'm very much looking forward to it. This is a very fun series, and I'm glad I'm reading it. And the last book that I want to talk to you guys about is The Wild Beyond the Witchlight. This is a D&D campaign module guidebook thing, whatever you want to call it. The adventure is written by Chris Perkins, and I'm absolutely loving this. This is a campaign that I plan on running for my friends sometime within the next couple of months. We are nearing the end of our current campaign, and our DM has expressed interest in being a player, so I'm probably going to be the next DM, or our other friend is interested too, so one of us. But if I am the next one, I will be running this, so I figured I'd familiarize myself with it, and it's just so fun, and I cannot wait to run this for some players. Alright friends, so now we get to pick my books for June, the first step of which is finding out how many books I'll have to pick. So I've got my D4 here, we're gonna roll it, and I don't know if you can see that, but that's a 2, which means I have to roll and add. So we're gonna roll it again, and I got, if I can pick it up, a 3. So 5 card pulls. Not the most, not the least, pretty much right in the middle, so it's a good number, I think. So here I have my cards. I'm gonna give it a bit of a shuffle so that you know I'm not like cheating and putting certain cards on top. So should be good, and we're gonna pull 5 cards. So first we have the 3 of Monstrosities. The Monstrosities are always a fun time for me. Then we have the Barbarian. Don't think I've pulled that one yet. The 2 of Humanoids. The 3 of Elements. That one I actually think lines up with a prompt for the Camp Seasonathon readathon that I'm doing, so that's good if what I'm remembering the prompt is correct. The last card pull is the Warlock. Okay, that's a fun spread, so I'm gonna go figure out what prompts those are and pick the books, and I'll be right back. Alright, I am back, and I'm very excited for the books that I've picked. So for the 3 of Monstrosities, the prompt is a gothic horror, and I don't own this physically, but I will be reading Monster by Naoki Urasawa. It is a manga from, I believe, the early 2000s. but it is a gothic horror manga, and it's one that I've been wanting to check out for a good long while, so I'm very excited to be picking it up. I don't know much about it besides the fact that it's horror. I think it has to do with a doctor as the main character, and it's not a monster as in like a creature, but like a human monster, which is very interesting to me, so I cannot wait to pick that up. Next up is The Barbarian, and the two prompt options for this are a book that's tall or heavy, or a book with a weapon on the cover, and I will be reading The Sorcerer of the North by John Flanagan. And I don't own the dust jacket for this because my brother threw it out, but if I did have the dust jacket, it would have a weapon on the cover, so I'm counting it. The cover on the dust jacket of what this book is has the main character Will holding his longbow, so that's a weapon. I just can't show it to you physically, so I'm still counting it. Next up, we have The Two of Humanoids, and for this, the prompt is a young adult book, pretty open, and I'm going with All Our Hidden Gifts by Caroline O'Donoghue. I don't know why I wanted to say Catherine. I actually just bought this book less than a week ago. I saw it in the bookstore, and I know Jess absolutely loved this book. And then I saw it was only $10, and I'm like, well, I have to get it. So I did, and I'm very excited to be picking it up right away. The Three of Elementals prompt is water on the cover or in the title, which is a prompt for the Camp Seasonathon, so I'm very excited for that overlap. But I will be reading Mob Psycho by one, and as you can see, Mob is underwater and there's a bunch of fish and stuff. This is volume 4 of the series. I'll be reading the entire thing, so it just fits perfectly. And the last card I pulled was the Warlock, and the two options for this are either a book that I was supposed to read in school or a book that's been personally recommended to me by someone. And I'm going with the latter prompt, and I'm picking The Dark Hills Divide by Patrick Carman. This was recommended to me by my friend Marissa many, many years ago. She really loves this book. It's like a dark children's series, and I cannot wait to crack into this. So here we have my physical TBR, sort of Mob Psycho. I do own more physically, but this is the one that fits the prompt, so it's the one on the TBR. But yeah, we have these four books plus Monster, which I think isn't a super long manga series, but it's not like super short either. So I don't know how long that's gonna take me to read, but it's manga. It'll be fine. I cannot wait to read these books. I'm so excited for every single one of them, and I think it's going to be a very good month. So that's everything for me today. Stay tuned in the coming days if you're watching this on the day it goes out for my Camp Seasonathon TBR, which will feature some of the books you've seen here today. Actually, I think all of them, but also a few more. So if you've enjoyed this video, please be sure to give it a big thumbs up. You can subscribe to my channel for more content, and that way I will see you in the next one. Bye everyone!